Well, hello, pals. Welcome to Picks with JP. It's a 21st Finance production. On this show, we go through various football gambling picks, whether it be professional or college, and each week Jeff goes into more detail about the picks he's making. As always, be safe when it comes to gambling. Always allow yourself to budget for losses to avoid any unforeseen profit losses. If you or anybody you love has a gambling problem, make sure to reach out to 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank, yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the
Welcome, guys. Episode 2 of Picks with JP. Yes, this is Jeff Perkins. Welcome back, guys. A little bit of sports gambling knowledge being dropped onto you today on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Second week, we went 2-2 last week. Florida Atlantic, yeah, you guys killed me. That plus 21 spread. They ended up getting absolutely demolished by Oklahoma, so that was a loss there. The Michigan-Notre Dame game, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Michigan just looked flat-footed. Shea Patterson did not look like a competent quarterback in week 1, so that was another loss for us. But we also did even out with the 2 wins. Yes, Ole Miss covered their plus 2 spread against Texas Tech. They looked very, very competitive. And then, of course, we finished it up with the last win of the week as well. This week, though, guys, NFL is back. Yes, Thursday night, the first NFL game, the Eagles-Falcons. Yes, they are playing. Nick Foles will be starting. And then next Sunday, we have the whole slate of NFL games. It is so exciting. So, yes, today, as usual, we're going to have 4 sports gambling picks. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight of why I'm picking them. And, of course, we'll also talk about other things going around in college football and the NFL. So, that being said, guys, let's get right down to our first pick of the week. In our first pick of the week, guys, we're going straight to the National Football League. We're going Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is playing at Baltimore. You guys have probably seen the news. Nathan Peterman is starting at quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. 5 interceptions last year against the Chargers in the one game. They decided not to play Josh Allen, the rookie. Baltimore's looked really, really good in this preseason. As much as I hate the Baltimore Ravens, man, that defense has looked phenomenal. And, if you've been watching any preseason and some of the things coming out of camps, people are saying Joe Flacco's having the best training camp of his life. I like to think the team that's starting Nathan Peterman, a guy who threw 5 interceptions, and truthfully, he's not an NFL starting caliber quarterback. He's playing one of the top 5 defenses in the league year in, year out in the Baltimore Ravens, and it's a home game for the Ravens. This pick is 100% confidence, 100% certainty for me. It's just a quick little money line pick. I'm taking the Ravens at minus 330 to money line to win against the Buffalo Bills. I think you take this pick with confidence. I don't see any issues with the Ravens here. Obviously they got to get the ground game established with Alex Collins. They have Michael Crabtree now, so we're going to see how the passing game works. But when you have Nathan Peterman at quarterback and you're going against a top 5 defense, and like I said, Nathan Peterman is not a starting caliber quarterback. Guys, you got to take the Baltimore Ravens here in the money line with a lot of confidence. So my first pick of the week for the NFL this Sunday, I am taking the Baltimore Ravens money line against the Buffalo Bills. And then in my second pick of the week, we're also sticking in the NFL. We're going Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. For this game, I am taking the Tennessee Titans +1 against Miami. Couple little notes about this. Yes, Ryan Tannehill is back. For those of you that remember, Ryan Tannehill was out all of last season with I believe it was an ACL injury. Jay Cutler played last season. Miami wasn't, as expected, wasn't really that successful last year. Miami finished last year 6-10. They were 5-9-2 against the spread. While the Tennessee Titans, some of you may remember, they actually won a playoff game last year against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mariota didn't really play that well last year, though. I'm pretty sure he had more interceptions than touchdowns. Like I said, the Titans were 10-8 last year with a 9-8-1 against the spread. So I'll be really curious to see Mariota. I mean, this is kind of a make or break year for him. Him and that other quarterback from 2015 draft, Jameis Winston. These two really haven't lived up to the expectations of a number 1 and number 2 overall pick. I think this season's a good standing point for Marcus Mariota. As well, too, the Titans have gotten rid of DeMarco Murray. So, yes, Derrick Henry is the lead back. But they also brought in Deion Lewis, to shore up the passing game as well. A couple little trends for this game. In the last couple games, the last trends of these last 2 teams, Miami is 2-7-2 against the spread in their last 11 games. And like I said, in their last 10 games, they're only 2-8. So, against the spread, Miami really hasn't done a whole lot in the last couple games. But like I said, also Jay Cutler was playing quarterback. So the return of Tannehill may affect this. But then as well, on the other standpoint, Tennessee is 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. A lot of this goes back to the playoffs. They were underdogs against the Chiefs. But either way, with my pick, I am taking Tennessee +1. I just don't think Miami has the roster to compete with Tennessee. I really don't think Marcus Mariota is very good. But, I mean, on the other standpoint, Tennessee has a really good front seven. They have an all-pro safety in Kevin Byard. Derrick Henry's a 1,000-yard back, potentially. Deion Lewis, you guys already know what he can do with, what he did with the New England Patriots. There's a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, maybe not quarterback for Tennessee. Corey Davis is a name that stands out for Tennessee. But on the other hand, Miami's depleted a lot of the roster. I mean, Ndamukong Suh's gone now. Really the best player on that team is the safety Rashad Jones. So for my second pick, guys, I am taking Tennessee +1 in the spread against the Miami Dolphins. In our third game of the week, we're going back to college football. We're doing a couple non-Power 5 schools, actually. Yes, we're going to Cleveland this weekend, where Cincinnati Bearcats will be playing the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Cincinnati's coming off a 26-17, I would say an upset win against the Chip Kelly-led UCLA Bruins. Miami's 0-1. They actually lost last week. The spread for this, I am taking Cincinnati +2 in the spread against Miami. Yes, Cincinnati is an underdog. The thing I got going for Cincinnati, that win against UCLA, they looked very impressive. Their running back, Michael Warren II, 35 carries for 140-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. So you already know Cincinnati's going to run the ball big time. And really, with that, a lot of this I'm going with that victory against UCLA. That's an impressive first win for them. That gives them a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season. And, Miami, they just didn't really look that impressive last week. They're coming off a 35-28 loss against Marshall. I mean, they gave up 35 points in their opening game. They actually didn't really stop the run. They had Marshall had multiple players with over 50 yards rushing in the game, and Marshall's quarterback Isaiah Green actually went off for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the problem for me is that rush defense. I know Miami's going to score points. Their quarterback Gus Ragland, he threw for 350 and 3 touchdowns last week, so they will air out the ball on Cincinnati. But the defense, man, that defense, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Michael Warren in the Cincinnati rushing game. There's a lot of confidence, a lot of swagger for Cincinnati coming off of that 26-17 win against UCLA. So for my third pick of the week in Cleveland, yes, I am taking the Cincinnati Bearcats +2 against Miami of Ohio. In our last game of the week, we are going back to the Big Ten. We're doing the Minnesota Gophers versus the Fresno State Bulldogs. And for this game, I'm actually taking Minnesota -2 at home against Fresno State. Both teams are 1-0. Minnesota looked phenomenal against, I believe it was New Mexico State in their first game. They won 48-10 in an absolute beatdown. Fresno State also looked probably more impressive, probably one of the most impressive Week 1 teams of all of college football. They played the Idaho Vandals, and they absolutely destroyed them 79-13. Both these teams scored points. I mean, Fresno State's defense, they gave up 5 interceptions, or they had 5 interceptions against Idaho. They were scoring points left and right. They had, I think it was 7 rushing touchdowns against Idaho. So Fresno State, they're one of those Power 5 teams. They're definitely for real this year. And like I said, on the other hand, too, Minnesota looked absolutely dominating against New Mexico State. They kind of just walked right through them last Thursday, 48-10. But going to this game with these two teams, yes, I am taking Minnesota -2 against Fresno State. This is the one game this week I probably have the least confidence about. PJ Fleck, row the boat, baby. I think PJ Fleck has a good thing going with Minnesota. I think he's got a couple years, it's kind of a couple year rebuild. And I think PJ Fleck will eventually get Minnesota to that point where they're maybe winning 8 or 9 games a year. This game's definitely going to be a good test for them. A lot of the odds sharks, a lot of the pros are actually taking Fresno State with this +2.5. But I think if you get Minnesota at TCF Bank, they're willing to score points. Yes, they're going to have to, stop turnovers and win the turnover game for sure. Keep moving the chains. I actually do think Minnesota is going to come out with a victory, starting off 2-0 as we get closer to the Big Ten slate this year. I think Minnesota is going to surprise a lot of teams in the Big Ten West this year. They talk about Wisconsin maybe leading the Big Ten West. They lead about Iowa maybe potentially being up there, and you never know about Nebraska. I think Minnesota is one of these teams this year. They could surprise a lot of people, and I really am high on them this year. And I think this Fresno State game, if they're able to pull this off, like I said, they're going to have a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence going into the Big Ten slate this year. So with my final pick of the week, in Minnesota, I am taking the Gophers -2 against the Fresno State Bulldogs.